I've had a very long life and a long history in Bulgaria, and despite my criticisms of many things and my eventual demise, my leaving this place in terms of growth, that would perhaps be a good thing, but it doesn't mean that it's without sentiment, because I absolutely adore this country and I adore looking back at the 10 years that I've spent here. So where I'm standing right now in the dark, this is Mladost 3, or exactly speaking the edge of Mladost 3 and 4. The literal edge is actually the street right here where you have Fantastico. I think this street was called the Paskalev or Paskalov, not quite sure. But I've had a long life here, and I've lived in Mladost 4, somewhere on the left, all the way in the back, in the complex City of Fountains, which is a huge apartment complex without any fountains, but that's what it was actually called. They just didn't finish the fountains, but I've had such a long time here, and the strange thing is that everything pretty much always stayed the same. So I always came back here. I've lived in this area for like, what, 5 years, then I left. It was always the same. But suddenly when I pulled the plug to leave this country, things sort of close and I wouldn't say fall apart, but it seems like a chapter closes, which is a really strange thing for me. Because, for example, the place I'm standing right now, which is closed, used to be Grill House, which sounds ridiculous, but it's a restaurant where I've had many memories at. Grill House used to have a big winter garden right here. Like right now it's so close it looks like nothing, but you would go inside here, walk to the back, you'd have a huge garden with palm trees, and inside you'd have a huge restaurant, and as the name says, they would have grilled meats and huge portions, and all very affordable, even until the place closed. And I was unaware that it closed. Like, even during the COVID, I came here all of the time. They didn't ask for anything, right, where other places would sometimes, but here you could just come up and they would say, "Hey, how have you been?" Because I'd moved, you know, and they said, "Hey, what's up? We missed you. Welcome back. Here's our beer. Here's our meat. Welcome." And that's after I just moved or came back from the Netherlands, where I'd lived for a couple months, and there everything was very strict, and then you just come here and it felt like getting into a warm bath, you know. That's how hospitable it was. And then I was in the area tonight because I had a date, and I thought, oh, I might as well pop into Grill House. I checked Google Maps, suddenly the place doesn't exist anymore, and I thought, oh, well, what's this? It just wasn't listed anymore, and I walk by here and it's gone. Like, it doesn't say any notification about renovation or whatever. It's just gone. Like, there's a small note on the window that mentions phone numbers. That means that the place is probably just for rent or whatever. And this is the closing of a chapter for me. Like, it might sound very silly, but I'm very sentimental about this area. And here you have the flower store, which still exists, right? I've bought so many stuff here, like a box for my rings and jewelry. I remember everything very vividly about this place. Here it used to be once a Chinese restaurant, then it became a pizza place. Now it's again the same, or sort of similar Chinese place, which is interesting, isn't it? And then here right now you have a bakery. So what I always used to do, I used to work out in Top Fit there in the back, which is a huge gym, pretty good gym. And then I would come all the way back here and I'd get cappuccino from Javor. Javor was a Bulgarian guy who had a beautiful cafe here with a terrace. Like, it was actually real nice. They had this huge roof terrace, and again, palm trees. People were sitting around in the sun, you know. I know it doesn't look like anything now, but this used to be, I believe, it, and it's unrecognizable. It's just gone. And Javor, he didn't speak. Like, he just nodded his head. He never said anything, but he made the best cappuccino ever, and he was a business owner. He was a no-nonsense type of guy. Had this cafe for, I don't know, decades. And when I'd come down, I'd say, I think cappuccino mole. And, or at no cappuccino is how it's technically said correctly, at no cappuccino. And he just nodded his head, give me the cappuccino. He'd always give me back the correct change up until the single coin, right? He just nodded his head, and he made the best coffee in the whole city, at least in my opinion. I would come back from the center here just for the coffee and the freshly squeezed juice, which was again very affordable, all the way up till 2022 when I was last in the area here. And now it's gone, it's closed, and it's a bakery. And that's just another sentimental thing for me. Like, the two places that I've frequented all of the time here are just gone, and that sort of means spiritually it's a closed chapter, and I sort of leave the memories in the dust, sadly. Like, everything else is pretty much unchanged, right? I would just walk around here on the left, walk to my place. I would always walk in my sports clothes, and what I like about this place is, like, it might look sad to a lot of people because it just blocks, but for me it was home because people go about their lives. Like, many in particular Western people would say, oh, what's this misery, you have people selling fruits on the side of the road in the mud. Yeah, but I've actually bought a lot of decent fruits here. And what I like about this area is that, as you can see, it's just people going about their day. They're not bothering anyone, just walking about, going home. And it's a very quiet district. To me, Mladost 3 and 4 always felt like a sort of vacation district. Like, you might think I'm insane, but I felt totally relaxed and at ease here, totally. I would go to the restaurant, I would go to the cafe, I would make a lot of friends. People knew me and they said, hey, what's up, how have you been? Even when I hadn't come for years. And then, you know, I would always walk by, see if the same people were still working there. I would wave when I didn't have time, and they would always wave back. And now it's just all closed, and that's very, very strange for me, because places are pretty much constant in Bulgaria unless, you know, a really long time passes. But in this sort of faraway residential areas, you would see a lot of places that stay in business for decades, like the hair, or no, there's a, oh, this used to be a hair salon, this is now flowers. Oh, that's changed as well. It's interesting, isn't it? I've had haircuts here, now it's flowers, and things slowly change, but to me it's sentimental. And I once met one Dutch guy who lived here as well. He had a family, and we just met for a coffee once, and he said, don't you ever get sad about all of these blocks and how grey it is on a rainy day and miserable? And I said, no, to me it's totally home, and I've never looked at it that way. Never ever ever crossed my mind. It's home, and if it's a mess, it was at least my mess, you know, a mess I felt at home in. And at least the atmosphere is still the same, but I'm quite sentimental about the places closing down. So now I pretty much have to go back to the center, right, to the place I currently live, to eat anything good. And that just makes me a bit, obviously I'll find a place to eat, but it feels like I've closed a book, and that makes me very strangely feeling. Anyway, I guess that's what I wanted to share, so all the best.